All right. So, can Elle do it? Yes, Elle can. And I'm going to talk to you about lab, and that's our classroom. That's where we would be. That's me teaching the lab you guys did last week. Our lab this week is that, yeah, Elle created a mess. And I get to talk to you about the mess. And what you're going to write about and do for the lab is how we can clean it up and look into innovative ways. And I was so impressed with each one of you, with the innovations you found and wrote about on some of the mess we've created for water and finding solutions, because that's what we are about. So I love the slide. I think it was in the previous slideshow also, but now you can appreciate it more, which are the names of the first 10 organic first 10 carbons. So yeah, poor no name isn't there. All right. So alkanes have four main uses, and their biggest one is those fossil fuels. Also plastics. They are our starting place for plastics and paint thinners. And fossil fuels, what it means is king coal. And so I included this slide. These are pictures my mom found for me that somebody who was a coal miner. So my uncles and my grandpa were coal miners here in this country. And so from Western Pennsylvania. And they had black lung. They actually could not get lung cancer because their lungs were so polluted from the coal mines. But these were some pictures that I just wanted to include. All right, this is what I do not want to see, because besides writing about the innovation this week, just a page about each one, you're going to, in week 5, do a presentation for your class. And so 5 to 10 minutes about one of those innovations. And we'll worry about that. We'll talk about that in class probably next week. Um, we don't want a slide like this, where we just have a lot of words and people look at this slide and go, oh, that's a lot of words. Do I have to write this down? Is there anything I need to know from this? No, you just got to sit back and listen and hopefully be inspired. So please make sure when you make your slideshow, you need at least one picture on every slide. And if you're able to personalize it like I was on this picture, that's great. All right, so we're going to first talk about the CO2 mess, which is from burning of fossil fuels. We have created quite a bit of carbon dioxide and other um, molecules like methane and some of the nitrous oxides and stuff. And I talked about this, I'm pretty sure, where they make a layer around the earth, which is reflecting the heat. The sunlight gets reflected back like a greenhouse. And so it's also known as global warming. And right, there's different, there are different statistics you will find out there. We've all learned in the past year about statistics and what statistics you choose to talk about. But there are many things that do contribute. And we'll just talk about some of them. You're not going to talk to me about the problem. You're going to find what some of the solutions are. So this is an interesting, that's why I showed the second one. So it seems like most of them agree that transportation is one of our big issues. The thing is what are they transporting? And the timber industry is, for Oregon, a big one. All right. And part of it is all the deforestation in different parts of the world, not just Oregon. So the forest naturally would buffer and absorb the CO2. Yeah. And so I'm sure you've all seen slides like this or pictures like this that, right, you know the problem. This is another personal picture. This is from Joey and me 10, 11 years ago in Nepal. We had just done the most awful hike ever, but it was gorgeous and awful. And that's where we slept for many days, yes, on a rock pile. That is a glacier behind us. And Pimba was devastated. It's part of why we took this picture, because he had not been there for 10 years. And where we are standing, that glacier, that snow would have been covering all of those rocks 10 years before, would have been completely covered. So just imagine where this glacier must have receded to now, 10 years later. I have pictures also from Tibet when we went over some of the high passes in the Jeep. The Tibetan guide, he stopped and they were almost in tears because they were talking the same thing, how the glaciers, how much they've receded. Yeah. All right. And I included this picture because the poor frogs, but right, as I mentioned before, frogs are one of the signs of the end is coming. And of course, we here in Oregon firsthand know about the increase in fires. We don't know about the floods. Yeah, and so again, these are statistics apparently from 3 years ago. If you can, have your references on there, but it's about in 2017, so 4 years ago. And it's tooting that the US was one of the biggest reducers. We also were one of the biggest emitters. And so, yeah, when I should have shown a picture from China. So when we were in Beijing, you couldn't see 10 yards in front of you on some days. That's how smoggy it was. Yeah, you couldn't see across the street. It was pretty disgusting. So you guys are going to talk about the solution. Enough about the problem. We all know there's a problem. So these from a couple years ago. This is paint. And this is solar paint that they actually painted on the houses, and the houses can produce their own energy. Pretty fascinating. This is probably one of my favorite. And it is silicate rocks from ancient volcanic eruptions. And when we add it and mix it into the soil, the farmers, it actually captures CO2. So it decreases, right? Decreases this footprint that we've been making. It also releases these ancient nutrients that help to boost the crop yield. It protects the crops from pest and disease, and it improves soil structure and fertility. It's like everything was here already for us, right? Some innovative green architecture. Some people look at this and go, oh, that's weird. Why aren't we already there? Why do we have buildings that have black roofs? Why aren't our roofs covered with trees and things and all these? There's some pretty amazing pictures out there. This is a solar railroad. It supposedly opened, or it was supposed to last year. It is somewhere in Northern Europe, and I can't remember now where, and I forgot to write the words there. These are companies, they're now showing up all over, in which, right, compostable, yeah, picnic wear. So that's out of bamboo. So what's your great green idea? Or simply, there was actually a book I read like 20 years ago, and it was the 10 greenest ideas ever. And number one, and it would still be number one, is the bicycle. I actually made a commitment many years ago, and so I actually walk and bicycle pretty much almost everywhere I go. I live where the stores are within 2 miles, and yeah, I do. I walk every day or every other day, or bike my backpack. You probably have seen me. And there are times when I will have to drive. But right, Kermit, there are these awesome new bikes, and there's some pretty, really cool bikes out there. Or you can make the commitment to eat green, which is eating at the farmer's market. So you're not, right, driving, getting food that's been transported from far away, like those avocados we all love to eat. Yeah, and the solar motorcycle. I love that one. All right. This is one. Are cows and sheep to blame for global warming? I've never heard about this. This is fascinating. So when I did this talk the first time, it may have been Kaylee, may have been in my class, my kids' class then. I really had to search. This was like 8 years ago to find this one picture. It was in Argentina, and they were studying the release of methane from cows' burps and farts. And turns out this is actually not far from us. So Wazoo actually received a grant for $250,000 to study belching cows. And so they've got more high tech with these cows. Apparently, you don't have to go far. I didn't take this picture, but they're not far from us. These cows are roaming around, eating the grass, and these are on their back, and they're collecting the methane from them. So Here we go. A cow burps over 500 liters of gas per day, 50 million tons per year. 10 cows could heat your home. Right, let's not talk about the amount of manure though. Yeah, so that's what the numbers are, right? That they talk about it. So if you want to, and so there's the production of your hamburger is causing deforestation in parts of the world to change what were the tropical forests into pastures for cows, and then the shipping of the meat to keep cheap. Right, which is a whole thing. That's why one of the things that you can choose to do is a 7-day challenge. You'll have to tell me you're doing it, which is to not eat animal products. I'm not going to use the word vegan because what they've done to that word is just abysmal. And so you're going to commit, but you can read what one of the choices is. So you're going to pick 2 choices. So let's talk about plastic. That's the other problem from alkanes. And you know what? We all are using plastic. So there's all these statistics we can find, and the part that's scary is the growth of plastic all around the world. But look at those numbers for the US. What were these numbers? Yeah, so the worst plastic offenders, yeah, China keeps getting up there. This is in 2010. And right, it's not just plastic, it's cardboard, it's all the waste. We're extremely wasteful, and there's the styrofoam. And so we all have the little mantra, reduce, reuse, recycle. But yeah, here we go. 2 million plastic beverage bottles are used every 5 minutes in just the US. And so what do? We recycle. We get paid to recycle, which we recycle more. How many of these do you think are recycled? You want to lock in your answer? Here it was only about 25% a couple years ago. Yeah, egad. What happens to the other 75%? Well, remember the hydrophobic lab? They don't mix with water, but they end up in the water. And these are real pictures. You can find them all over. That enough plastic is thrown away each year to circle the earth 4 times. That was several years ago. It might be 5 times by now. Americans throw away 35 billion plastic bottles every year. If we recycled and reused them to keep making our plastic from the plastic, we'd save 1 billion gallons of oil, because that's where plastic comes from, is oil, as well as landfill space. Yeah, that amount of trash, 5.25 trillion. Trillion is 6, 9, 12 zeros, right? And you all know, you've seen the pictures, the trash, yeah, every minute. Not a Lego size garbage truck of plastic, but a regular garbage truck of plastic dumped into our oceans. It's not pretty. And then the animals think it's jellyfish and they try to eat it, and right. Or they get wrapped in it and suffocate. And this to me is a crazy one, because it becomes all about us. Oh no, we're going to eat the plastic. What about the turtle or the dolphins and the birds? And what about those plastic bags that disappeared a year ago? And it's kind of weird because I'm here in New Jersey taping this. They're going to disappear here in May. But have they really disappeared? So yeah, 1 trillion per year, 2 million every minute. Yeah. The amount of energy to make just 12 of those plastic bags would drive a car 1 mile. Does anybody know what song they're singing? Too bad. Yeah, not a very pretty Christmas tree there. So that was a slide I found online from Chris Jordan, apparently. So there you go. That's million, billion, 100 billion every 5 seconds. And so people get these, right? I have been using for years the reusable bags. So what else is plastic used for? We use it for everything, from packaging, automotive, building, and construction. It's here. It's part of our life. Where does the plastic come from? It doesn't come from a tree. It comes from, right? It comes from oil. That's why it's in this slideshow. So yeah, by 2050, the oceans could contain more plastic than fish. You all heard about the island of plastic they found in every ocean. There's actually, and that could be one of you could look into this, or a couple of you, they're actually cleaning them up. They found ways, there's like bacteria or something. There's a couple different ways that they're cleaning them up and degrading them. So these are some pictures from me. So Kathmandu is the capital of Nepal. Nepal is one of the poorest countries in the world, and has several World Heritage sites, these ancient sites. This is one of them, Bodhanath. So a new archaeological dig. Actually, I'm sorry, that might be the Monkey Temple. That's another funny story. Anyway, a new archaeological dig stretches kilometers along the Bagmati River. And there we go. There is Kathmandu, another World Heritage Site. And there's a picture. Joey and I were walking to the Monkey Temple. Again, a whole nother story of the garbage dump. Yeah, that's all plastic. Deep trenches, 20-foot high hills. This is 10 years ago. I cannot imagine what this dump looks like now. Blue, pink, black, and white polypropylene. It's another beautiful picture. And it's not the monkeys. So this is back to last week. You can't drink the water in Kathmandu. There's signs on every faucet. Their water is so contaminated. And so you have to drink bottled water. And so the bottles end up in, well, they don't have landfills. Yes. That was actually Joey at the Monkey Temple, and I bought him something, but it was in a glass bottle, and that was you would actually pay an extra 5 rupees, which was the price of so it was 5 rupees for a drink and an extra 5 rupees, and then you return the bottle, and they gave you back the five of the rupees, and yeah. So it was glass bottles, but this was every day you'd sweep out. And I always wondered what happened to all the garbage. One day I finally did find out, but the cows, that's the only rule in Kathmandu and India is you don't hit a cow. The cows are a sacred mother. And so they're roaming the streets. And yeah, there is actually a garbage guy who comes by and sweeps it up very early in the morning before everything starts. I can't imagine what's going on now. So it's really the gift that keeps on giving. There we go. There's a more recent picture. It's yeah, we live in oblivion to the rest of the world. So yeah, we all stopped using plastic and we're using paper bags. That's just a cute picture. Almost looks like Rocky. So yeah, we all believe that using the plastic bags that we've solved the problem. Not really. Is paper really any better? Well, the paper has to come from somewhere, and then it has to be milled and chlorinated, which hurts the water. And yeah, so the whole thing right now, a lot of us are using less paper because everything's digital. So the reduce, reuse, recycle, and they've added to it rethink. We have to rethink what we're doing. So there's a little kid's book. So I put this on here for Christy because maybe she'll write me a book. It is one of the options. It's about Pierre, the French Bulldog, and his recycling. And so Pierre, the French Bulldog, is digging in the yard. He digs up a bone, his owner's newspaper, a ripped stuffed animal, and a chewed up plastic bottle to make room for what he needs to bury today. But he's not sure what to do with it. Nom nom nom, the garbage can says. It gobbles everything down. And the little recycling can says, but wait, what about me? Everything goes into the trash can's greedy tummy will go into the landfill, which causes pollution that's harmful to our planet. Here we go. Just more images. Again, you don't have to talk about the problem. You get to talk about a solution. So recycling by 2025, $30 billion industry. Yeah, and so there's a whole thing of how they break it down, it gets sorted, and it basically ends up as this white stuff at the end. And all right, so you recycle, right? We're like, no, I recycle my plastic bottles. Why not use no plastic bottles at all? So what happens? Well, there we go. They do this heating thing and it goes through all these steps. You can Google and watch a little YouTube video that shows you, and it ends up, so these guys are long polymers. We're going to talk about it a little bit this week. They're just long, long, long carbon polymers. And so they make it into a thread. It's the same thread as polyester, which a lot of our clothes are made out of. And so you get clothes, green leather alternatives. Yes, made from recycled. So I know Patagonia has been big into this for many years, and how many bottles made that one jacket, or your raincoat, or the umbrella, right? So they're saying 5 bottles, 5 recycled bottles will make this umbrella. And so we have to buy those things. So, and you can also buy really chic clothing too. Said extremely chic clothing. You could model that. You guys can make your own clothing out of your bottles and then model it for us. Wouldn't that be fun? There's some actually really cool ones out there. You can actually get boots that are made from recycled plastic, and you can get a ninja outfit or make your own. Apparently bicycles. Now, there's some interesting stuff because some of these spatulas and stuff, there's a dark side to it. And so some of you did find that some of the problems with some of the innovations are the cost. One of the things in a lot of this, you can get these recycled plastic spatulas and stuff. Some of them are giving off chemicals, and you don't want to be eating those chemicals. So there is that whole other side of plastic. I think I talk about next week, the plastic picnic tables. You can look into Lego. Lego, 75% of Lego's footprint is from extraction and refinement of oil to make its toys. Yeah, egad. So even with all their other blah, 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 that the toy is made out of plastic. So they made a commitment that by 2030, they would find an alternative. And so they spent $150 million to make their center into a sustainable place. And they have 100, I don't know how many employees they have now. So make good, if you're like this huge Lego fan from your youth or still are, you could look into what Lego's done. Have they actually been able to achieve some of these things, and how far are they along? Right. So the classic bricks are going to still look and feel exactly the same, but the company is making a shift, and the material will still be plastic, but it's not going to be made out of oil. So there you go. Figure out what are they doing with it. And oh gosh, I can't remember his name, but everything is awesome. We created a problem, but we can fix it. And that's what you're going to find is something we can do to fix it. So you can look into something to fix, like alternative fuel, or what we're doing with all this stuff. So the biodegradable, they make it from things like orange peels, and it does eventually, I forget how long, it does take time for it to break down. Some of it has to, well, some of these are actually made from polyester and feedstock. And if it's not composted correctly at the correct facility, if anybody knows where those facilities actually are, it just ends up back in the landfill. And the landfill is airtight and dry, which doesn't allow it to biodegrade because it needs to have the moisture and stuff for the composting. And it does actually release greenhouse gases. So sometimes their solutions have a dark side too. There's also the mushroom foam, so the shroom foam. So instead of styrofoam, which is a huge problem, there is actually styrofoam that's now made out of mushroom, which is fully compostable. One of the problems is you can't package something that a varmint would want to eat in it. So it's used a lot for packaging, like wines or vinegar. My mom got these really cool vinegars we got her for Christmas, and it came in one of these. I thought of this because Joey, way back, this would be like 8 years ago, I don't know, first freshman in high school, he created some science project to we actually couldn't get one of these at the time, but he researched into it, and so he made his own with real mushrooms and put an egg in it to see if it worked as well as styrofoam. And I'm sad to say, when we dropped it from the roof, the real mushrooms actually had much too much water in them, so were much too much heavy. But these mushrooms, of course, this is taking mushrooms. Mushrooms are this big underground growth, and so completely renewable how it's harvested. Learning to compost could be something you talk about. So that's why I had that in there. So recycle, reuse, reduce, repurpose. So let's talk about repurposing. Reject, refuse. So that's what they're saying is recycling should be at the bottom of the list. Rethinking should be at the top. We need to rethink how we do this because, right? So why even using plastic bottles at all? Why even using plastic or paper bags? This to me is crazy. You go in the store and each product is individually wrapped in plastic. Why? Mother Nature already packaged it perfectly for us. Yeah, you can make your own food bags, and this is where you can research some of the plastics. They're making plastics out of chicken feathers, or orange bills and stuff. So that could be one of the things. Or you could decide that, you know what, you have a bunch of plastic bottles around and you're going to repurpose them. And so you could build a house, a castle, a bird feeder, a pencil jar. You could make, yeah, those guys are cute. Little bowling pins. Make a greenhouse. Make it, yeah, there's so many things. A plant stand. You can make a boat. We could probably get permission, go to college and row your boat. Um, so yeah, so many ways you can purpose. This is a Christmas decoration for next year. It's even in my colors. Or, like I said, you can make a dress and model it. So that could be one of your choices, is to repurpose the plastic. You could decide to banish fruit flies. There's so many crazy things people are doing with plastic. Basically, you had a few drops of apple cider vinegar and some dish detergent, and the fruit flies are attracted, but they can't leave, they can't swim, and so you're going to kill the fruit flies. Yeah, whatever. It's not fruit fly season. The best Christmas game ever. I had the slide, and usually we're live in class, and everybody but me has played this game. But right, if you want to make a ginormous one up and show me, you make a little video of how to do that. I don't know. And or you can decide you're going to cover your whole house in plastic. Really, this is, don't do this. Please don't do this. But apparently people do this. That's how they put their Christmas tree away every year, so they don't have to redecorate. They just wrap it in plastic, wrap their whole house in plastic, and don't do that. Don't do that. That is inhumane. So please don't do that. So yeah, this is a person probably in China who made themselves a little plastic house and were living in it. There's quite a bit of art you can apparently make with plastic wrap. Apparently, this picture of the queen is there because her buttons at one time were made from plastic, and or else that was how they kept her buttons, her jewelry, so it was always clean and pristine and didn't have to dust it and shiny. So yeah, there's so many different uses of plastic. So let's rethink it. So again, you guys are going to have a choice. You can repurpose your plastic and make a cool creation, take a picture of it and tell me what you did. You're gonna pick two things. There's a page that gives you your choices. You can decide to go with your food for 7 days, make the commitment, and that's on there. It's called G Bombs, and it's has mushrooms in there too. You can research an alternative plastic or something, a company that is doing something to clean up the plastic and repurpose it. You can research alternative fuel. Anyway, do something, find something, and then what we're going to do is you're each going to pick one of the innovative projects to do a 5-minute presentation on in week 5, and we'll coordinate that after this week. All right, I think that's it. So, how do I stop? Goodbye. I will see you soon.